So I've been reading the book of Second Chronicles, and there's a theme in the last few chapters that's been coming up that's just making me think a little bit. So basically, there's this King Jehoshaphat who's like really great. He loves the Lord, like he's so passionate about God and everything. And then what happens is that he tries to be very chummy with King Ahab. That's Jezebel's husband. At least you know Jezebel. If you don't know King Ahab, basically he tries to really chummy with him. First of all, that King Ahab is just bad news, because why would somebody come and visit you and you like, oh, give the person a lot of food and you're chilling and everything, and next thing is that you come and start asking the person to go to war with you. Like, how did we get here? Anyways, and apart from that, God had already said that King Ahab was going to like die in that war, and he still chose to go. He didn't just choose to go. He now chose to not dress as king and let his friend, who he convinced to go to war with him, dress as the king when he knew that God said he was going to die. Anyways, that's another story. But basically, King Jehoshaphat went to visit King Ahab, and then despite the fact that God's prophet had said that King Ahab was going to die, King Ahab went ahead to go to war, and King Jehoshaphat went with him, which was mistake number one. Like, he shouldn't have done that, especially as he knows that he knew what God wanted. Anyways, so when he came back, God had said, oh, why? Basically, God was not happy with what he did and everything, and God warned him. And then we hear about him continuing to work for the Lord and trying to convince the people of Israel, teach people of Israel the way of the Lord. And then, fast forward 2 years later, King Jehoshaphat does the same exact thing. That's a repetition. The same thing. And then he tries to be chummy with Ahab's, I think Ahab's son, who becomes king. I think it's Ahab's son. Yes. And then, so they try to do business together, and then God comes and warns him with another prophet and says that because he's doing business, he says, why are you trying to love people who hate me? And then the business basically doesn't fly. God makes like the ships don't fly at all. Like the business shall runs down basically before it even starts. And then we now fast forward and we see that a person who succeeds King Jehoshaphat as king gets married to somebody from King Ahab's household, one of his daughters. I think, was it his daughter? I think it's either his daughter or his daughter, his granddaughter. And then basically this King Jehoshaphat's son, kills all his brothers, who would possibly, he's always not a good guy, kills his own blood brothers. And then obviously when he dies eventually, his wife now kills her husband's children, save one who, by the grace of God, was preserved by somebody who was godly and was hidden in temple. So he grew up in temple. When he was 1 year old, that's when so when he was 1 year old, that's when like his brothers got killed. That brothers got killed because this queen, who remember is King Ahab's descendants, King Ahab and Jezebel's descendants, wanted to be ruler. And remember, God had already said like King David's line would be where the king would always be on the throne. So her doing that, if she had eliminated every child, that would have been like trying to make God's word void, which obviously can't happen. Anyways, and do you know that Second Chronicles basically is about the lineage of Judah of King David? Anyways, so that's another thing. Chronicles. Anyways, well, whatever. So basically, I was now thinking that, wait, could it be that the reason God kept warning King Jehoshaphat to stop trying to be chummy with these people was because this association that he was going to have, this friendship that he was building with these ungodly kings, was going to end up telling on his own generation, and not like his lineage. Sorry, that's a better way to going to tell on his lineage, and was going to be so devastating that it could wipe out his lineage. And God was trying to preserve him. And it's like sometimes you don't actually know why God is telling you not to associate with people, not to do this certain kind of things, but he knows. God sees the end from the beginning, and it's so well because like this is friendship. And I feel like King Jehoshaphat was obviously a good guy, and even when God corrected him, he obviously did not take it badly like his dad did. But this was, I don't know if it's that maybe was a people pleaser, or he just not like causing tension and things like that. But it was something that made me think, you don't actually know why God is saying don't do this or don't move with this kind of crowd. And evil communication corrupts good manners. Maybe not your own good manners, but maybe your own children, because that's how his own child went to go and fall in love with somebody that he should not have been falling in love with in the first place. Anyways, but yeah, it's very interesting and like food for thought. I just wanted to share, but yeah, it's something that sort of has been on my mind for us, making me think a little bit. The Bible is so, like, has so much wisdom. Like, there's so much to think about. Anyways, hopefully I find a better way to share my thoughts, but yeah, why not? If not, why not? But yeah, I hope it resonates with somebody. And then another thing is, even if nothing bad will happen, if you disobey God, obey God nonetheless. And who defines badness or goodness? It's God anyway, so just do it. Like, yeah, it's easy to say, especially when you're just like, oh, whatever. But yeah, just try and get better at obedience. Build your muscle of obedience. Anyways, ciao.